Well, you made it after all your flight problems.
I made it. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't understand how you have a ticket in your hand and you walk up to get on a plane and they're like, I'm sorry, you don't have a seat. And you're like, yes, I do. It says it on my ticket.
I paid for it.
Well, I told her we don't start until she gets here. So if she hadn't made it, y'all would have just been out of luck. So
It's canceled. Man, I supposed to cancel.
we got the group's already going. So let's just jump right in. Go to the left because they're fixing that one. Yes, sir. Let's go. Get in there like a rock star.
Hi. I was wondering, who would you like to play your sister Cynthia if you could choose your
Kate Blanchett. I mean, I didn't even have to think about it. That's it. That's it. Only. Do you think you'll have any, I guess you already know, will there be maybe, you think there might be any flashbacks when they see the team?
I love the fact that like everyone thinks that I'm actually going to say something.
Would you like there to be? Do you hope for it?
I mean, there's so many things in this storyline that we could go back and discover and talk about it and delve into. You know, it's part of what I love about Obi-Wan is in really back and filling the story where there's some missing time for us. You could absolutely do that. I don't write the show.
I hope it happens just because it'll connect it, like you said, with Obi-Wan. So good. Him and Satine.
You never know.
Wait, let's go to the right. Oh, there we go. Got a Jedi right there. Super bright. It's hard to see.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Katie. I'm a big fan of your work in Clone Wars. You might say hi to my friend who couldn't be here with us. He loves your work too. He loves Bo-Katan.
What's his name?
Ulysses.
Hello, Ulysses.
Yeah. All right. So for my question, what was it like to get cast in the Clone Wars and have like, I guess your world exposed to like people like Dave Filoni and John Favreau, and how did that open up your, I guess, doors to grow your career in like acting?
So I was offered the role of Bo-Katan in Clone Wars while I was filming Battlestar Galactica.
That's your cue. Battlestar
Galactica. I think. And I got the role because I had worked with the guys over at Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
And Dave Filoni is friends with those guys, and Dave called and said, what's Katie like to work with? We're thinking about hiring her. And thankfully I wasn't ever complete. See you next Tuesday. And they hired me to play this role. And you know, for me, it was just like the most amazing way to be in Star Wars. I grew up watching Star Wars, I grew up watching science fiction with my dad, and for me, I was like, this is it. This is everything I want to do. I don't care that it's animation. This is absolutely awesome and cool. And so I loved doing that. Bo wasn't in as much as I would have liked. You know, I think she was only in like 10 episodes. She wasn't that big of a character.
She wasn't the best artist of the show.
She was though, right? And so when I saw Dave at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago a few years ago, I cornered him and basically pleaded my case that, you know, and it was pretty much like, so Bo-Katan's not dead. It shouldn't exist in this world. And he was like, we'll see. And he likes to say that he had already planned it. I don't know. Anyway. But long story short, you know, I've been doing this now for over 25 years, which is insane to me, that I am still doing the thing that I love and that I get to do it. You know, we're having this surge of women of a certain age that are working in this industry. It used to be that as you got older, you just didn't work as much. And so I was sort of prepared for that because everyone told me to be prepared for that. And then I'm like 42 and my career is just going up. So it's very strange. And I'd already sort of like done all the things that I thought I was going to get to do in my career. And like the cherry on the top was, you know.
You get to play a cool character.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen now. But so the career opportunities have definitely sort of seemed like they're changing a little bit. But you never know. Expectation is the killer of joy. So,
thank you.
Have a good one. Hello. like 10-year-old on the planet. Like, I mean, I think she's 10. The guy told me she was a teenager, and I was like, well, that's weird. I've been playing her like she's like 7 the entire time. There are things that they have me say that I never dreamed would come out of my mouth as a human being. So, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Look, Mom, I made it. Thank you. You're so welcome.
Let me start by saying, hello there.
Hello there.
Now, following the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, how would you say is Bo-Katan's relationship to Din Djarin after acquiring an right now unnamed Mandalorian artifact?
Again, I shall not tell you anything. There's nothing to tell. The only thing I can tell you is that I am in season 3. And beyond that, you're just gonna have to wait and be pleasantly surprised. But we'll see.
Is your dad super excited to see you in Mandalorian?
Yeah, so my dad, during COVID we were filming, and my dad just kept going, am I allowed to come to set? And I was like, Dad, it's COVID, like they barely let me show up to work. He was like, well, if they change their mind, let me know. Because he wants to redo his picture because he was disappointed he was sitting sideways because the show was tiny. He wants to get one head on so that I can put some on.
Your dad.
He does the funniest guy. He's like, the picture's great, but Dad, you should just face the camera. Straight. That's weird.
Hi. So first off, I just want to say, as someone who grew up whose favorite character was Bo-Katan, I wasn't a boy, and though I now identify as non-binary, I was always told your favorite can't be Bo-Katan. But Mandalorians, the armor, that's for men. And I remember very vividly, I was 11 years old, maybe 12, and I saw Bo-Katan for the first time on the big screen, and I said, she's not a man, and she's a Mandalorian, and I cannot express how that changed my life. I remember going to school the next day, and I had a photo on my iPod Touch of a screen cap of the show, and I said, ha ha, look at this, she's a badass. So first off, thank you for bringing that role to life. My question is, how did it feel when you got the call to bring Bo-Katan to live action? I remember in an interview you had said you didn't expect it.
No, I honestly didn't expect it. First of all, amazing. Love that story. I grew up wanting to be Bruce Willis. Nobody told me I couldn't. So, I'm still trying to say that I'm totally building. It's my goal is So, don't let anyone ever tell you you can't be anything that you want to be. So good for you. I love Bo-Katan. I love her boob armor. I love it. Have a problem with it, I don't care. She has boobs, we need to protect them. So, but it was crazy when I cornered Dave jokingly. Like, I didn't honestly think that they were going to put me in the Mandalorian. Come on. Sure. So when I got a phone call that John Favreau wanted to sit down with me, it never really occurred to me that that's what I was meeting him for until many minutes into this interview with him that I'm looking around and they've got all these pictures from the show on the wall and my face is on Bo-Katan and I was like, oh, you're asking me if I want to do this? I'm sorry, what world am I living in that this is my life? I literally flipped out. I think I hit the table, I said some swear words, and then I basically started I felt like I was begging for the job when they'd already offered it to me.
So you're one of the few actors or actresses who does both their animated and live action counterparts, and I think that's absolutely incredible.
Thank you. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen usually. So, lucked out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Emily. She has been in all the Star Wars related panels all weekend.
Yeah.
Super fan of her hair.
It's super nice to meet you. She actually took my question, so I'm trying to think of another one. What was your favorite part of playing Bo-Katan? Like, just in general, I guess.
Yeah, so she's such a cool character. And for me, one of the things that I love about Bo, more than anyone that I've ever played, is she has very clear growth. She's evolved as a character. For those of you that watch Clone Wars, you know that she started out not necessarily on the right side of things. And I think that it is a very valuable lesson in forgiveness, atonement, making amends, and growing as a human being. You've heard Dave talk about the fact that she's much younger than people think she was in Clone Wars. So I really love the idea that she's been allowed to change in this role. And so that's what I love about her. I love just, I don't know, the fact that I grew up a Star Wars fan and to be able to actually exist in the world still sort of is odd to me. You know what I mean? It's still really strange. And so that's the coolest thing. I mean, I've been a fan of Jon Favreau since, Swingers is one of the best movies ever. And so to be able to work with him and go to work and call that man my boss is a very, very cool career point for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, well, first of all, I would like to say hello again since October 2013.
Hello again.
And to switch over,
I was just trying to figure out where I was in October 2013.
it was here in Dallas.
Was it here in Dallas?
Yes.
Hi. Hi everyone. I have no idea.
Also, to switch over universes, what do you think was the best and most challenging aspect of playing Starbuck?
So I was 21 when I got the part, or at least 21 when I read the script, and I think we were filming the miniseries when I was 22, and it was up until that point in my career. I'd been acting since I was 14, but I'd never studied, and I just was very blessed in the opportunities that were presented to myself. And I felt like a fraud for a very, very long time because I didn't do all this studying that everybody else did, and I convinced myself that I didn't belong where I was. And I was filming one day with Eddie Olmos, and my mom had told me before that to just fake it until you believe it, because it's working, so just keep doing what you're doing. And I never felt connected to the characters. I felt like I was just playing. And I was working with Eddie Olmos, and we were doing the scene where she comes to him and tells him that she feels responsible for Zach's death. It's a huge scene. And Eddie pulled me aside at one point, and he said, I want you to do something for me on this next take. I want you to actually listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth, and then just say what comes next to you. Then say your line next. But really listen. And I said, okay. And he said, because if you actually showed up, you'd be really good. And I was like, oh wow, this man completely sees through my bullshit. So I did it. I did the take, I listened to him, because you don't do anything that if Eddie tells you to do something, you do it. And there's a moment in that scene where I walk out of the room and I covered my head, because as Katee, like myself, I started sobbing as I was leaving the room. Because I finally, for the first time in my career, felt the pain of what my character felt. And then Eddie came out and he said, congratulations, you're now acting. I was like, oh wow. So that to me was one of the most challenging parts. Was I finally learned how to be very present and connected to my characters, and she was incredibly damaged. And so I owned her almost too much, and I was incredibly tired. So I learned how to then, after that, sort of pull myself back and leave the characters at home. Because it damn near killed me playing her. She was exhausting. But so that was the most challenging thing, was learning to actually show up, I guess.
That's just natural talent, and you were perfect for it, in my opinion.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Sorry, that was a long-winded question. Answer. Question wasn't. Answer was.
Hi, I was just wondering, do you know where Ezra Bridger is? You're gonna say where he is. Do you know?
You guys, I cannot tell you anything.
Do you think Dave knows? Or is he BSing us?
Dave knows everything. Everything. You guys, that man is Star Wars. He eats, sleeps, breathes, protects, owns Star Wars. He knows everything. And if he wants you to know, you'll know too.
Thank you.
Hi there, Katie. My name is Case. My question to you is, obviously you've been a part of a ton of sci-fi universes throughout your career. Is there any particular universe that you as Katie would be fond to live in?
Live in. You say live and I feel stuck. That I'd like to get stuck at. I don't know. I always felt like I was like a little too young in the 80s. Like I rocked leg warmers, but I feel like I really didn't get to like participate in leg warmers. And therefore, like the Goonies and the Gremlins world, I feel like I missed my calling and I should have been my sister's age. She was like 10 years older than me because she rocked the 80s. So I know that's not a world, but to me the 80s is very much a world. And so I think I would like to go back.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and then just be in Goonies.
And then just be in the group.
Hello.
Yeah, so my favorite role that I've ever seen you in is Dana Walsh in 24. I thought that was just an amazing.
Oh,
performance.
yeah.
What would you say the difference is between working with Kiefer Sutherland in 24 versus working in Mandalorian? Is it an action TV show, just an action TV show, or is it every single show challenges you in such a different way?
Every show is very, very, very different for a multitude of different reasons. I mean, The Mandalorian has the volume, which is a very different demon. And 24 was such a strange show to work on because right after Battlestar, right before 24, I was diagnosed with cancer. And so I was just really, really, really tired, and I wanted to find a job in California so I could stay close to my doctors and everything. And I went in to audition for 24, and it was the worst audition of my life. And my doctor happened to call me on the way home, and he was like, "Why are you so upset?" And I told him, and he goes, "Turn your car around. I'm best friends with Brandon Braga." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "I'll call him. You can audition again." And he literally, my doctor, called the producer of 24 and said, "You need to just let her go again. She's going through a lot." It was a really strange time for me, and so I was challenged for many different physical reasons during that time. But working with Kiefer, who is such a pro, was awesome. I mean, like that man. There are scenes in an interrogation that we did together that like. He legitimately freaks the shit out of me, but then snaps as soon as they say cut, and he's like, "Kiefer again?" And we're like, "This is so weird." Because he goes from like really, really intense Jack to like just like Kiefer, who's like, "Are we done yet for the day? He's just a cool dude. But everything's different, so everything's very, very, very different, and the challenges, I mean, we shot outside a lot, and it was like 100 degrees, which, then again, we do that on Star Wars too. But that's just California desert life for you. So yeah, just very different. Everything, it just depends. And if you have a co-star that's an ass, you're screwed. So you never know, right?
in Battlestar that you look back on with the most fondness?
There's so many moments in Battlestar, and because we each slept and breathed that show, because we shot for like 11 months out of the year, and we were all incredibly close. So there's so many moments. I think that one of the ones that I remember that means so much to me was the end when Kara says goodbye to Sam in the tub. You know, that was such a profound moment for so many of us because Truco, who played Anders, got in a severe car accident between seasons and broke his neck. And they didn't know if he would walk again. So to not only have him back, but to have him in the show, but that halo thing they had around his head, they wrote that in because they thought that we didn't know how he was going to recover. So that moment when Kara said goodbye to Sam, and Truco is a very close friend of mine, was so profound for me because it was all of the emotions of going through this phone calls of when we almost lost him, and then he's gonna make it, and then he's gonna walk, and then he's back on set, and he's like, and she's saying goodbye to him. That was a really, really hard scene for me to shoot, you know, because we came so close to losing our friend. And so I remember that moment, to me, is really, really special.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, Katie. I'm Jacob. I'm a massive fan of your work in Longmire. And out of curiosity, were you satisfied with the arc that was set up romantically between you and Robert Taylor? Just because you go from co-worker to mentor to sort of close friends and then ambiguously so. Are they in love or are they not? Did you like how it ended at season 6?
So the books, the Longmire books, they are together much sooner. And for any of you who have read them, I mean, it'll make you blush. Craig Johnson, who writes the Longmire novels, someone asked him, he has this story, this anecdote of the first time he had to write a sex scene for Walt and Vic, and he came out and he showed his wife, and she was like, whew. So, he's very good at it. Anyway, that being said, I was sort of anticipating it the whole time, and I knew that it was going to happen, and so the hardest part for us was to not indicate as actors. Robert Taylor is just such a phenomenal human being, and a really, really great actor. So it's hard not to fall in love with him when you're working with him, and that's the truth. He's just amazing. And so I loved the way that it ended. It was incredibly strange though, because like when you get to a point after 6 years of working with someone and you're like friends with their wife and their child was like born while you were filming, it is so weird to like then have to get intimate with them in front of 50 of your closest friends. And so it was very strange. And so Rob and I decided to try and like ease tension. And so I went to this store and bought tassels from
Please continue.
I'm crying. I've never told this story. So I went and I got tassels because they had to put me in pasties. Put these bright red sparkly tassels on. And these like sparkly bottoms. And he had on a thing. And my G-string said property of the sheriff. So that was our first take. And Rob and I were running around the set in front of the entire crew with tassels on. Because we because at this point you're friends with everyone. We had to break the ice because it was so weird. And there you go. Yeah, I forgot about that. I still have those tassels.
Oh, good.
Well, if you're cosplaying from Longmire and you're not dressed appropriately underneath, you are really cosplaying. I'll never unsee this.
Yeah, the crew will never unsee it either. So.
Yes.
Well, okay.
Hi.
I am
You and Jordan?
Yes, ma'am. I've seen you like 50 times. And I don't believe your age. You look like 20 years younger.
Oh, thank you. It's oil of Olay. Just a little bit of Botox.
And the story you just said about the tassels, that's almost like your best sci-fi story. Can you get those on eBay?
I bet you can't get them on eBay.
Oh, how much?
I mean, not mine personally, but I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have.
Okay. Anyway, the true question is, if you were asked by any film company, like it doesn't even have to be Disney Plus or something, and they said, hey, just bring out a show that you think would be just so awesome, just be great. Do you know what you bring out? Like a sequel to something?
Oh gosh, there's so many. So many. Lord, that's a great question. You know, we're sort of in this age, this golden age of like television, even though we're not watching really on our televisions anymore, where there's so many places for great content and like you can create everything that you want. So, you know, I don't know if I would do a remake or like a continuation of something. I mean, I would continue Longmire. I'm gonna fight for that until I'm so old. They're like, you cannot play her anymore. Sorry.
Any story.
But, so that's the best thing about being married to a writer, is that we have a plethora of things that we are actually creating together, because he is a fantastic writer. And so hopefully we'll see some really good stuff soon. But I love 80s action movies. I think there's something so simplistic to them, where I think we've overcomplicated a lot of action things. And what I loved about 80s action movies was that the lead character you could identify with. They were an everyman, for lack of a better term. And I think we miss that, and there's a hole for that. So I would actually like to bring back 80s type action movies. In my opinion. Thank you.
Hi, Katie. My name's Chelsea. Hi. Your intense performances inspired me to kick butt in my real life. And I was wondering if you donate to any charitable causes, and if so, which ones?
Yes, quite a bit. I have a soft spot for animals, so I try to, I try to save any stray anything I ever find. So I give to Best Friends Animal Society, which is great. They're based in in Utah. And then also I give to the Red Cross a lot, because I find that their distribution of funds is really great. And then there's also some really great smaller charities, like Pavlov Shutterbutts is great. They do a lot of work with children with cancer. So yeah, there's a lot. There are so many great charities, but I always make sure to research them first to make sure how much of the portions actually go to the people that need the money. So
Wonderful. Thanks.
yes. Hi.
Hello. I'm actually stealing this line from a panel that I was at earlier. Hi, my name is Lynn. I'm going to be your potential stalker.
Are you here for me?
Yes.
Yep.
For McDonald's.
That was hilarious.
Did McDonald's Trisha and I are very, very, very close. We have like a group of like 6 girlfriends that we're really, really tight and love her to death. That woman is tougher than I will ever be, and don't let her fool you. And the charity that we started is called Acting Outlaws, and it was a charity that was took our love of motorcycles and our sort of love of philanthropy and put those together so we could a lot of motorcycle charities around the country that we would actually like raise money for and then give money to. We raised money for the Gulf oil spill. We raised money for a charity in Los Angeles called PATH, which helps people afflicted with homelessness get back on their feet and into the workforce, which is great. And so we've done quite a bit, but Trisha has moved to Georgia, and I do not see her enough anymore. So we right now we haven't done a ride for a long time, and I miss her every day much. Thank you.
Hey, my name's Tanner, and as a student filmmaker, I looked into like the volume that you work on in the Mandalorian set. I think it's really interesting, and I want to know what it's like working in that kind of environment.
It's insane. So it's like shooting on location, but you're in a studio. It's so weird. So like the studio volume that we film on is probably like the size of this whole area, like the black curtains. And but you're literally seeing what you're talking about. So like if a Grisanti Freighter goes by or like a TIE fighter, you're seeing them go by. It is the strangest thing I've ever experienced because as an actor, especially in sci-fi, I am so good acting with tennis balls, y'all. Like my tennis ball acting is on point. But you don't have to do that in Star Wars. So it's so weird to like not have to use your imagination anymore because they've given it to you in the volume. It just like, it blows my mind. It's one of the coolest experiences. There's notoriously there's the scene in season 2 where we're standing on top of the Razor Crest and it's floating on water, and they had to literally hook us all to it because we were getting seasick and they thought we were going to fall off. And it's not moving. The only thing moving is the screens, and it's just the up and down of the water, and you're standing on this thing. It's 2 in the morning, and all of a sudden you're like, why am I? And you're like, whoop, she's going. It's crazy. It's really, really cool. It's really cool. I hope you get the opportunity to see it someday. Yeah.
I think we have 4 people in with questions. We have about 7 minutes. I think we can
get through it. I will be less. Yeah. Sorry. I
Tell me, Starbuck.
A lot. Hi.
Which show do you prefer, Star Wars or Battlestar? Come on, information.
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna say Star Wars because I grew up on it, and I did not grow up on Battlestar. I was just a skosh too young, so it doesn't hold the place in my heart that Star Wars does. Because like I remember the smell of the roof the first time I watched New Hope. You know what I mean? So.
Thank you.
How are you going to ask her a question when you already have the answer in your
I broke your heart.
Better not be the full answer.
My name is Allison, and I actually started my sci-fi experience through Starbuck.
Amazing.
So she gave me a lot of confidence in my 20s that I didn't already have. But in going back to that, I was thinking about this scene where you're climbing into Star. How in the heck do you film that? Was that a tennis ball situation?
I mean, it's always a tennis ball situation. I'm so glad she gave me confidence in my 20s too. You know, I didn't have the confidence to speak my mind and say the things that I wanted to say. I was always told to like be seen, not heard, be a good little girl. So she gave me a voice, and I loved playing her for that reason. I actually had pneumonia while we were filming that scene, and there was a hole in the bottom of the ship. So I would have the tube in my mouth, and they'd say cut, and I would vomit out the bottom of the ship because I was so ill. Yeah, which is having having COVID now with like, not me, sorry, but as a society having COVID now and having our industry recognize that if somebody's sick, they don't come to work is such a weird thing for me because as an actor, I have not missed a day of work in my life. Like you don't miss work. You go to sick, I don't care if you have a broken leg, I don't care if I've had kidney stone at work, and like, I mean, I've had pneumonia twice. I mean, like, so sick. So it's actually nice to sort of see this like pullback in the industry that if someone doesn't feel good, maybe they should not go to work. So that was a very interesting scene because I was so sick I barely remember it. All I remember is the bucket. So, sorry. I don't even remember. I think I blocked it out. Thank you.
Hi, Katee.
Hi.
I met you last year at Palooza really quick.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been a fan forever. I love Battlestar Galactica, and I'm just super excited for where your character is going in Star Wars. And when I heard you were going to be on that show, I was just like, so I'm really excited. And but my question actually is about Battlestar Galactica. And there was a lot of romance scenes in that. And I was just wondering if there was actually any romance offset.
Everyone was married except for me. So not for me. I was the baby on the show. And everyone was older than I was, and they were literally all married and like having babies. So I was just like the single, you know, crazy sister that was like going out on weekends and dating. I had fun. It's not with anyone at work. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for talking about everything we talked about this afternoon, but you haven't mentioned one thing I'd like to ask about. What about your experience on the Big Bang Theory?
I loved playing myself. Like a caricature of myself. It was so much fun. It was so nerve-wracking. You know, I'd never been allowed to, or asked to like do comedy. So for me, it was very daunting. And it was so much fun because I don't know if any of y'all, it's not really a big thing anymore, but if you've ever been to like a foam party, or if you've heard of foam parties, it's like really slippery. It's like it's like this foam that like you can still walk through. It's very strange. Anyway, I digress. It's so in the bathtub, it was just a bunch of that foam. So there was no water, it was just foam. And it's so slippery, and it's a porcelain bathtub. So we kept, and we were fully clothed in the bathtub, and we kept slipping and like kicking each other. And so I was like really hurting. And so they finally had to like give us socks, and we had to push our feet against each other to keep ourselves up in the bathtub. Because I kept like if you ever wanted children one day, I was not going to have it. So. But that's what I remember. It was so much fun. And then working with George again. You know, my dad raised me on Star Trek, so to show up and get to work with George was like a dream come true. And we both realized while we were filming that I was wearing a Starbuck suit and he was wearing his cape. And we both realized. I said, "Oh no, I don't think sci-fi knows that I took my flight suit." And he goes, "Mind you, they don't know I have this cape either." And it was really funny. And so we were like, well, I'm gonna find out. So, yeah, so if they ever wanted to know where those props are, or that wardrobe, we've stolen it.
Okay, last question.
No pressure. No pressure whatsoever.
Well, nice to meet you. I just wanted to ask a little bit because I know the difference between filming with like on animation versus live, and yet I know that Filoni had a totally different concept where a lot of times he actually had all the actors together on set when they were filming. How was filming the live action, and I will say Star Wars, versus the animation version? I mean, where does your head go
Battlestar, so I was doing my voiceover work for Clone Wars while I was in Canada, and like they were on the screen. So it's just a very, very different thing. Like when you're actually in a scene with someone and you can look them in the eye, it's like game changer. Now that being said, my scene partner, you can't see his face, so it does make things a little challenging sometimes. It's absolutely amazing. People always ask me if it's weird to put the helmet on, but it is actually for me when I am at most at ease playing Bo-Katan, because I played Bo for so many years without my face. And so if you guys haven't noticed, I'm a little expressive, and Bo-Katan is not. She does not, her face doesn't move unless she wants you to think something or give you something. So it's hard for me to stay that still and play her. And so when I put my helmet on, I can do anything I want with my face. And I actually like ease into her, and it's so much easier for me to play Bo with the helmet on, which a lot of actors have the opposite feeling. So, very different. Thank you. So really quick on the Star Wars panels I've been asking today, how many fathers are out there with their kids? Who's a daddy out here?
There she is.
Happy Father's Day. Me and of course be with you guys. You got real cool dads. Make sure that they know that. Happy Father's Day. Thank you guys for coming. I'm sorry if I told a lot of adult jokes and your child is asking what their tassels are. Apologize. Just tell them it's an accessory for stormtroopers. It is.
Oh, God.
Tassels are something you can buy that you can hook on a purse.
For
It
graduation.
can test the wind, so maybe they'll actually hit something eventually. Exactly. Yeah. We really want to thank you for coming out.
Did you see the sign like
Thank you all so much. Thank you for supporting my work over the years, and I appreciate you. I wouldn't have a career without you, so thank you. Big round of applause for Katee, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. As you're leaving, you guys, please say thank you to our volunteers who have made this a very safe and inclusive weekend for everyone, and our amazing interpreters.